What is up, RotoGrinders? Happy Wednesday. 2 hours of nonstop MLB DFS conversation. It does start right now, as you can see on the scroll. It's not just any old Wednesday. It's a Wheel Wednesday. We're spinning the wheel once again. Get yourself registered in the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat. Producer Steve will be dropping that. He's not dropped it just yet. I assume will be coming momentarily. Just go ahead and click the avatar, and you will be good to go. What does that work? How does that, you get yourself a week free of RG Premium just by jumping the Discord channel and, clicking the button. You throw your name on the wheel. We spin the wheel and your name pops up. It doesn't cost you anything, just a click of the mouse and we're good to go. And should be noted, it's not just baseball, football, basketball, not basketball just yet. You know what I mean? Hockey, not hockey just yet. PGA, MMA, everything but NASCAR, all the sports. Get yourself a taste of the goods, the optimizer, all the articles, the bells, the whistles. I have just an intimate show, myself and Will, Chief. Will, how's Wednesday working out for you? You were very excited to get the Minnesota lineup. That's something we're looking forward to. That dropped right before the show dropped, so we'll discuss that amongst every other lineup. That's sprinkling on through. Very interesting slate tonight. I'm curious to get your thoughts. How are things in Will's world?
I'm good, man. Just building and it's weird, D. So I want to mention this because I know you've actually interviewed me before about my DFS career and kind of how it got started and how things came together for me. One of the interesting things for me that's changed over the years is for baseball. I used to be predominantly a single entry, higher stakes person. And now as the years have gone by, I've kind of let the prop side handle that. And I've become a lot more mass multi-entry. That doesn't mean I won't still play some single entry, stuff or just, play one main team. I'm not saying I don't do that, but I've really enjoyed getting into mass multi-entry because I feel like I can control a lot more outcomes, obviously getting those extra bullets. And so, I've been really close here lately. So I'm hoping, Dean, that, I can turn a corner here tonight and actually come out on top rather than top 50 or 30 or something like that. So hopefully this all comes together and we can get out of this thing, with a dub. But I'm still enjoying MLB despite all the NFL that's going on. I love Major League Baseball DFS. It's literally probably one of my favorites. Basketball has its place. Usually I'm probably, I feel like by June or by the time the playoffs start with basketball, I'm just over all the injuries and overall, I'm just over all the shenanigans. Baseball at least has you staying pretty steady. You don't really have all these shenanigans in baseball. That's what makes me love it so much. And so hopefully we can help these people continue to pad their pockets as the season, gets a little bit closer to the end here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still not burnt out on baseball. And it's usually the last week where it finally gets me. It's all right, I think I'm done with you. 155 games. I've had it. Well, we'll play this. We'll play through. Same thing with basketball, especially like you said, the nonsense, the shenanigans the last week or so. But I'm still good. I'm still locked in as far as baseball. You were saying is when it comes to tournaments, and I'm not sure which ones you're playing, but the tricky thing is you must bank or you're basically going to lose. Looking at some of the stuff that's posted out there, the relay throw is $15 to jump in there, 150 total prize pool on DK, and it's 50 up top and 33% up top. And that's great if you win. Congratulations, but you kind of have to win that if you're MMAing it. Otherwise, you're in trouble. At least finish the top 10 or so just to break even. I'm an advocate for a flatter payouts. That's just me. Yeah. And people like what they like. I'm not playing that contest for that reason. I'll play something else. The contests are kind of rough these days. I like the single entry stuff, the 3-entry max stuff much more. And those prize pools have been, taking a hit as well as the season is winding down. But it is what it is. But I just have a hard time justifying that. Now, if that's what you want, have at it and win it. Win it, and there you go. All of a sudden, you're Scrooge McDuck. But that's kind of where I am at. We should say hello to the chat. What's up, chat?
Well,
thank you for. Go ahead, Will.
Well, and we're not filibustering, guys. I like to have these little mini chats. I think this is a good opening topic to talk about. But Dean, also back in the day, and I know you probably know this, I was a huge FanDuel DFSer. That's where I cut my teeth, man. That FanDuel was my bread and butter. Baseball, and it was like every sport, Dean. It's like, so for instance, I remember one night I thought I had the bank on DraftKings. Like, I just knew it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the night. I was in first, Dean, headed out. I mean, all the games were ending. I'm still in first. And Mike Trout comes up to the plate and smacks one. And I go from like first to, I don't know, third or fourth. And that was back in the day. And I'm like, God, man, like, DraftKings, why are you so cruel to me? I had a live final seat on the line. So, it was one of those nights where I'm like, hey, this is it. This is going to be it. And it just didn't come together. But FanDuel, for whatever reason. Now, but the other thing, too, on FanDuel, I had some really good beats on FanDuel that allowed me to take down a couple six-figure paydays. And I think my best beat, Dean, was I was in first on FanDuel. It was like a Saturday night for like $100K. And Giannis was playing the Orlando Magic. Now, this is back the bad Magic. Okay, this is the bad Magic. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh no, I just need this. I'm sweating Giannis not overtaking me in first. Dean, don't you know I ended up winning by like 0.02 fantasy points. Ooh. Because they throwing him out and Giannis got pulled like late and he didn't score any more fantasy points. Otherwise, I was toast. And going from, hear me out here, folks. I'm not one of those people where I'm like going to be crying because I made 40K. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not my deal. But
I lost 60K.
But yeah. But going from 100K to 40K still is like, oh, you're right there.
Life is about expectations. When you're expecting 100K and you get 40K, it's like, still good.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Yeah. But that was probably the best beat I've had of my DFS career. So that was a fun one. I've had some other really good beats like in Showdown and stuff like that. But like that one by far, like the 0.02 fantasy points, like that's the one I'll never forget. And I remember what I did that night too. So the Hornets were playing Washington. So you got to remember, this was the Kimba Hornets, the John Wall, Bradley Beal, and it was like an up and down. So I basically stacked that game, Dean, and put some pieces around it. And this was a multi-entry, but when I looked at the lineup, I knew it was one that I had hand built. So that was back in the day where sometimes I say, "Oh, I like this game," and I just kind of force in some stacks, and then maybe build like 100 in lineup HQ or whatever. And that was one. It just ended up paying off, man. I mean, it was scoring galore in that game. And I think it might have actually gone overtime, which helped even more. So anyway,
overtime for a stacked basketball game is beautiful. Yeah, you get like 30 extra points.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you hang out with us and just stay on the DFS train, man. DFS, it's not dead. Pick'em is a part of DFS, and I really do enjoy this industry. So thank you guys for inviting us into your home, into your car, to your headphones, wherever you are, and listening to us try to hand you our knowledge about sports. And today, that sport is baseball. Dean, back to you.
Yeah, we still have plenty of time. We have an hour plus until crunch time comes in. Squirrel coming in, STL cards, as well as chief mineralogist Kevin Roth does appear once again. The weather gods have really been on the side of Roth of late. Nothing really dicey out there, as far as I can tell. Otherwise, if something changes, Roth will be all over it. By the way, there was a potential no-hitter. I didn't say anything about it. I did not mention it. They were in the ninth inning in Toronto. I was thinking it. Bowden Francis gave up a homer in the ninth. He had one strikeout, by the way. Isn't this his second?
That's what I
hit did on the season. But Lindor got him for a homer in the ninth, so it's 1-1 Toronto and the Mets.
And guess what, Dean? That's what I hate about it, because I took his over strikeouts today, and I'm sitting here thinking, this it's just not my day. And it is what it is. I mean, the guy goes, practically almost 9 innings and, gets 1 strikeout. Hey, good for you. Good for you.
All right. Yeah, so they immediately took him out, by the way, because, they don't want to push him too hard. I don't know what his pitch count was. But, yeah, 1-1 in the 9th there, and producer Steve is excited for his Mets. I did see Hoosier saying banners say must-win game for the Reds tonight to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I got bad news for you. But the math says they have a 0.0% chance to make the playoffs, according to Fangraphs. They are 8.5 games back, and they have like 5 teams in front of them. So I don't know. Maybe they win every single game out, but that's probably not going to happen. But you never know. You never know. But it's not going to happen. Okay, tonight, really good pitchers. One of the highest variance pitcher in the world, I guess we can argue. We saw last time out. It looks like he's going to be the most popular pitcher as well. No, the 3rd most popular pitcher, but it's close. Hunter Brown, good matchup against Oakland. Didn't work out for Oakland last night, unfortunately. For me, who had some Oakland stacks. No Tucker tonight for Houston. Houston looked like one of the best teams. Still really good, but no Tucker. Certainly a hit their lineup. King, awesome strikeout pitcher, taking up Seattle, which is an awesome matchup. But then the conundrum that is Blake Snell, who threw, 43 pitches or so in the 1st inning his last time out. And they said, look, we can't throw you back out there. We can't just destroy your arm like this. You threw 43 in the 1st, and that's it. You're donezo. Some nights, he just cannot throw strikes, and it is what it is. He's in a great ballpark. The matchup's fine against Milwaukee. He probably has the highest ceiling amongst everybody throwing baseballs tonight, but the floor is so rough. I don't know. I was in the morning grind last night, Will, and this is why I like being the host and not the analyst, because I had no idea how to analyze Snell. What am I going to tell you? I have no clue. Is he going to be able to throw strikes? I don't know. If he does, he can strike out 12. If he doesn't, he can walk 5, and he's gone in an inning. Which is going to happen? Don't know. And anybody who says they do, they're lying to you. they don't know either. Snell doesn't know either. So I think that's one of the bigger conundrums on this slate, what to do with him. Offenses, I think, are pretty clear, the top offenses. The game in Boston, Baltimore taking on the Red Sox, 9.5 total with Kramer and Pavetta. The cheapy pitcher, I think, is going to be Zebby Matthews. We'll discuss that. Houston still has a 5 total taking on Joey Estes, despite they're without Kyle Tucker. And then you have the Dodgers, Miller versus Wicks. That game's at a 9 total. Miller's allowed a ton of home runs. Jordan Wicks was allowed few, but it is still the Dodgers. We don't have a lineup just yet for LA. We were talking about that pre-show as well. Not sure if Teoscar is going to be back, but I would assume that Will Smith is back because he didn't play last night. What is your screenshot of this slate? It's an 8-gamer, and I think there's plenty of routes, plenty of things to consider.
So for me, Dean, honestly, yesterday we had an 11-game slate, and today we have an 8-game slate, and they both feel exactly the same to me. Does this slate feel just like yesterday's slate, even though we've got 3 less games? And so I'm taking a similar approach, Dean. I'm going really concentrated at pitcher. I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 7 pitchers. I actually had less than that yesterday, but I feel like I needed to play some Snell just because, once again, Dean, I mean, he could go for 10, he could go for 100. 100 is a stretch, but he could go for 30 fantasy points. That wouldn't be out of the question. And so I'm really concentrated at pitcher. I'm really concentrated in my stack selection. So in terms of actual stacks, and I'll kind of give you guys my exposures tonight in the quick stacks section in lineup HQ. I'm running 5-3. I'm trying to get about 40% there. 5 with maybe some one-offs at about 30%, and then 4-4. I'm running 30% also, Dean, just in case. So that's where I am. And then I'm trying to, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 teams that I'm stacking from a primary perspective, Dean, and I have varying ownership on those, but my highest exposed, I'm trying to get the Houston more, Boston coming in at a strong second in terms of where I'm trying to get most of my exposure for stacks tonight. So hopefully if that comes in. Obviously, I played Minnesota, but generally speaking, I'm just playing really concentrated DFS right now, Dean, until we hit a slate where maybe we've got a whole bunch of offenses that can light it up. And I think somebody in the chat, I don't remember who it was, but someone made a reference. They said they like the fact that the weather's cooling off. It's kind of helping them play better. And I definitely think the weather, can help you as it cools off a little bit. The good offenses are the good offenses. And then in terms of pitching, it typically will help even marginal pitchers just be a little bit better, D, for BABIP purposes. And I think, as we get down to the end here, getting closer to October, we're going to see some of
that. Thog in chat says, Dean, explain yourself. I'm not sure if you're watching on delay. I don't know what I've done. There could be a number of things I need to explain myself for. Just a general life question, which might take a while. So you got to be more specific there, Thog. I don't know what I need to explain, but probably some explaining is necessary, I would imagine. So again, talking about the Snell thing, maybe that's what he was alluding to. Snell, biggest K rate on the slate, 32.7%. Cole Reagans kind of lost in the sauce a little bit, taking on the Yankees, but we know he's got the ability to rack up 9 or 10 or 11 strikeouts for sure. He could be the biggest strikeout pitcher on this slate, almost a 30%. He's the high fives. All right, that's who. I was trying to. My camera was a little bit funky. It was out of focus, so I was trying to white balance it, and I think it worked. So that's what was going on. Yeah, I wasn't trying to high five. I don't know if you're catching that or watching the screen there, Will. I thought it was just a one shot on you, but I wasn't sure. Never mind. Yeah, my apologies for it. Was not attacking anybody with the claw as is that the Jim Carrey?
The Claw. Yeah, Liar, Liar, I think is that movie. Yeah. The Claw. Yes. Yes.
I don't know why that's there you go. Or Take My Strong Hand, which is Chris Elliott from Scary Movie, I think. All right. Maybe we can get a GIF or two up on the board. But speaking of, I'm going to derail the show for a second. I watched Beetlejuice for the first time in my life. I've been aware of Beetlejuice. I was aware of his existence. I could have picked him out of a lineup, but I never really watched it start to finish. Didn't really like it. Am I supposed to like it as an adult? Is that just for kids? I don't do adults like Beetlejuice? Are they just nostalgic for it? I'm not sure. But there you go. Take my strong hand. Yeah. Beetlejuice 2 is out. I don't know if you're aware. Beetlejuice. If you say it one more time, bad things could, I don't want to give any spoilers, but things can happen. Yeah. Maybe chat, let me know. Should I like Beetlejuice as an adult? I'm not sure. But maybe if you see it for the first time at 10, you might love it. And it's PG, which is it's a scary PG movie, I would imagine.
Listen, Dean, a lot of things have changed since we were kids. Like when we were kids, PG meant PG, and now PG's probably back when we were kids, it's probably PG-13, and R-rated movies are probably NA movies or something like that. You know what I mean? Everything's kind of bumped up a notch, in my opinion, in how the movies are being graded. But, it is what it is. I just try to keep my girls on YouTube Kids. And
good luck with that. I don't know how that seems like a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, listen, so let me say this. My girls, and they don't really watch this as much anymore because they've gotten older. But when they were kids, they used to like to watch these videos on YouTube of Ryan's World. It's like a kid playing with toys. And obviously Ryan got paid, but Ryan got paid because he tried all these toys, which would influence the sales of the toys, obviously. And so
Ryan's parents got rich.
Yeah, Ryan's parents picked up some money, obviously. And but then Ryan got this mystery egg, and they'd always want a Ryan's mystery egg, which had different toys in it. You didn't know what it was. You just open it up and it's got all sorts of things in it. And they were obviously they've gotten older now, so they're not as intrigued. Now they want to watch what's the thing? Miraculous Ladybug or something like that. It's like
all this is another language to me.
Yeah, it's like a new superhero show. I think it's a Disney show. Like they just like to watch stuff like that. They do like to watch Disney Plus, like they like to watch a lot of those movies. On Netflix, they like, they just like to watch kid stuff now that aren't just cartoons. So it's interesting seeing them grow up. But sometimes I sit down and watch it with them because I want to monitor like the intake. Like what is this show actually? Because some things are weird now, Dean. And so I'm like, hey, let's actually watch something else. Let's watch something else. So at any rate, there we go.
And some things you probably didn't even pick up on as a kid that might have been weird, however you want, whatever adjective you want to use, like that, like you just didn't realize. So wait a second, now that I watch this as an adult, maybe I should not have been watching this as a child. I don't know. I mean, different, like the Simpsons kind of writes where they would write their jokes were like, I'm not saying that as an example, but just kind of like it's interesting how that works.
Kind of like Eric seeing his Family Guy kids cartoon, knowing that it's not a kids cartoon.
It's definitely not a kids cartoon. Definitely not a kid's cartoon. When I was teaching, I may or may not have let the kids watch Family Guy on vacation. Maybe that's why I'm no longer teaching. I don't know. All right, we shall move on, I suppose. For the longest time, by the way, there was no PG-13. There was no middle. Red Dawn, I believe, was the very first PG-13 movie that came out in 1984. But it was either PG or R, and there was no wiggle room. So PG stuff really pushed the. This is back in the day, forever ago before us. But yeah. All right. Let me get your stands. You mentioned your pool as far as pitching today, and I still don't know. I'm still not.
I just mentioned that it was tight. I didn't actually talk about the pitchers, but it is a tight pool, if you will. Probably. Would you like me to just say who I have in my pool, Dean, and kind of talk about why?
How many you got? I'll go ahead and tell you who's in your pool. I think. How many guys do you have?
I've got 7.
Okay, now I wonder if you're taking any big stands. If you're saying you know what, I'm just not going to play Blake Snell. I think that's a stand somebody could take.
I am playing Blake Snell, and I am over the field.
Okay, so Snell's in there. Hunter Brown's in there. Hunter Brown
is in there, and I thought I was going to be over the field on Brown, and lo and behold, I'm probably matching the field. Matching the field, but that's okay.
By the way, the field currently Brown 37%, Snell at 25 on DK.
I've got Brown at 40, so maybe I'm slightly off there. But either way, I mean that's close enough.
All right. Oh, James Paxton's going to retire, by the way, which is not surprising. I guess that makes sense. Just see that coming on through on the Twitter on my phone. All right, so Brown, King, Snell. Reagans? I think you have Reagans in the pool.
I am playing Reagans. I'm well over the field on Reagans. Well over the field on Reagans for sure.
You got to have some heel just in case he's not walking dudes and he's striking people out.
Not playing him at all.
Why no heel?
I feel like he's right in between Reagans and Brown. I feel like they're all comparable, and I like them more. You get what I'm saying? Right. He's 8,800. Brown is 9K, and what I feel like is in a better matchup. And Reagans is 9,300 with more strikeout upside in essentially a comparable matchup. And once again, remember, dude, I'm trying to keep a really concentrated pool. So he had to go out of that group. I didn't feel like he was a necessity. I don't think he's going to outscore anyone enough for me to be concerned. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like Snell, King, Reagans, Brown could all put up the same number tonight. And if he's just another one of those guys that puts up a number, I just took up another spot for no reason where I could be, getting a little bit more of a guy that I like more.
Let's see. Heel on the season is strikeouts versus righties, 30.3%. We're looking at Pham, Witt, Perez, Fermin, Garcia. So I think that's 5 righties, but it is a really contact-heavy Kansas City lineup, collectively striking out at 19%. Only one guy of the 9 hitters that are playing today for KC in the red on plate IQ as far as striking out versus righties this season. That's MJ Melendez. So it is a pretty contact-heavy lineup. I'll give you that for sure.
And he was a lot lower over the past 30 days, past month. Walk rate is up 16%. He's high on the season anyway, giving up a lot more hard contact. So that's why, it's nah, I'm not doing it. Whereas you look at a guy like Reagans, his walk rate is up, but he's giving up less contact over the month. Strikeout rate is up overall over the past, just a tick. So it's just those are my little tiebreakers at the end of the season, D, when I'm trying to see where guys are at. It's like, hey, maybe he's just doesn't have it. Maybe he's got a little bit of fatigue, And I do try to go back and look at the matchups, Dean. So like when I'm looking over the past 30 days, like I also understand all matchups aren't created equal. So like if he sees Boston, Baltimore, Toronto, Houston, like lower strikeout team, like I try to look at that also. But in this case, I just don't think he's in as good of a spot as the other guys for, looking like he's not pitching as well down the stretch here.
We said Reagan's was in the pool.
He is, yes.
Interesting. They are throwing 4 lefties against him. We always talk about his splits, almost 32% strikeouts versus righties, 21% against lefties. Allowing a little bit more power to righties, but more strikeouts to righties. 4 lefties in there with Soto regular, Jazz regular, Verdugo, and Anthony Rizzo, who he's got a 13 ISO this year versus lefties. Yeesh.
Yeah. He was like one of the first guys I pulled out of my lineups was Anthony Rizzo, and he's historically been a favorite of mine for DFS, but oh man, since he came to New York, just hasn't been the same. Additionally, can someone let Eric know, and the fact that I'm saying it that way, I'm letting him know now that Kyle Tucker is actually not playing baseball today. So you may, if you got him in your pool, you may want to get him out.
Yeah, I'm curious how much that hits the Houston stack, because I think I know Houston was one of my favorite stacks going into the day. It's just, it reminds us of how it was a couple weeks ago, I suppose. Altuve, Jordan, Diaz, Bregman, Singleton up to the 5 spot, Pena, Ben Gamel, Myers, Dubon. No Jason Hayward either. I thought he might crack this lineup today, but he is not in there. 100 likes. We get 100 likes. You get 2 spins of the wheel. We're currently only at 30. How many likes do we need to get some of the prop plays you like today? I'm sure you're heavy in the prop streets. You're hanging out in the prop shop for the people. What's the threshold
earlier today? Man, look, we get to 100, we'll get the wheel, and then we get to 125, and we'll give out the K of the bidet.
Ooh, I don't know if enough people are grinding baseball these days. We'll see if they get crunch time. We'll get the 125 because the audience grows.
Listen, we've got plenty of people watching. We can get the likes, but I'm not going to beg for them. Dean, we show up. We love our community. We want you guys to come have fun with us. And so, hey man, just hit the tip jar for us, as Beer would say. Hit that tip jar on the way in, and help us out here.
All right. We have not locked in your official 7 pitchers. Hunter, King, Snell, not Heel, but Reagan's. That's 5. Yes. I think you're gonna have Zebby. The cheapie is the Jor is Zebby.
Yeah, I believe. I'm playing Zebby because he's 5,800, and if he gets 14 fantasy points tonight, that's acceptable.
Yeah, and he's been a strike thrower, right? Small sample stuff, a 2.9% walk, strike thrower, not great stuff as far as the case, but they're fine at 21%. He's been unlucky when it comes to giving up homers. Now he gives up plenty of fly balls, but 18.2% homer to fly ball has yielded a 2.45 homer per 9, which is too many. But again, it's just 22 innings, so don't want to obsess over small sample stuff.
So that's 5, Dean. Snell, King, Reagan's, Brown, Matthews. That's 5. 2 more.
Snell, King. I don't think you have Woo.
Nope, don't have Woo.
It's kind of working backwards.
Yep.
I can go that way.
It's too low of a strikeout team. So there's no way I was going to play him today.
Kohanowitz, cross him off the list. You don't have him.
Yeah,
no chance you have him.
Off the list for sure.
Scratch him out. Jordan Wicks is a no-go. You're not playing Wicks.
Nope.
Williamson, you're not going to be playing for Cincinnati.
Nope.
Not playing. I don't think you're playing Bobby Miller. I don't think so.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No way. I don't play Bobby Miller ever. I don't care how well he does or how well he doesn't do. He gets the X button every slate.
Yeah, it's weird, that game. Well, we'll talk about that game later, but the highest pitcher as far as homers per 9, Bobby Miller, 2.72 on the season, and the lowest pitcher as far as homers per 9, Jordan Wicks, 0.47. And Wicks keeps the ball on the ground as well, but he's facing the Dodgers. I don't think you have either pitcher in that game. Nope. Pretty sure of that. By the way, somebody told us in chat.
The Dodgers a little.
Let's see. Wake up, babe. It's Bobby Miller bump day. I don't. That feels like a very specific GIF. I don't remember. When was Bobby? I don't remember Bobby Miller. What were you doing on Bobby Miller bump day? I don't remember. I didn't know that was a thing. But all right, maybe it's Bobby Miller bump day. Joey Estes is a no. I think Lance Lynn is a no. First time we're seeing him in a while.
For sure. Yep.
Okay, so who's left standing? I'm playing guess who. I'm kind of working backwards. Colin Ray is still standing. Nick Pivetta is still standing. Dean Kramer might be still standing. Okay, so you have some Pivetta.
I do have some Pivetta, yes. It's just look, I'm also going to have some Baltimore players, Dean. But when you've got a guy that can, light the world on fire in terms of strikeouts, I just can't avoid that. He's been a little rough to lefties. I get it. But, all we need is Baltimore to just fail one day. So, Dean, on the season, Nick Pivetta has a 29% K rate, 30% to lefties, 27% to righties, only walking guys at a 5.9% clip. And he hasn't had much drop-off as we get down to the end of the season. Still at 26% over the past month, 28% to lefties, 23% to righties. Walks are about intact, right? So the only problem he typically has is hard contact. Can he keep the ball in the yard and not give up timely hits? And so, Dean, if that materializes, like we can't predict the future, but we can use indicators, which are, these stats and advanced stats that we use to try to help us make decisions. The K rate is there. I mean, if he goes 6 innings, 7 or 8 Ks and gives up 2 runs, Dean, I'm fine with that on this slate as long as he hasn't given up 20 hits. So I just think he's probably got higher upside than some of these other guys, which is why you notice I'm playing him over Heel. And then you look at the bottom, he should be able to pick up 1 or 2 from the bottom of the order, even if he doesn't get too many at the top, Dean. Like, Cowser's at 28, Slater's at 33, Holiday's at 34, Rivera at 24. And most of these guys have enough plate appearances that even though Austin Slater is only at 56 plate appearances, he's a guy that's been in the league. So it's not like we don't know who he is. And then, Dean, we're just relying on him to get 1 or 2 of the top guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you get Gunnar Henderson once, you get, Santander once or O'Hearn once, and you get some of these guys at the bottom, I mean, that feels like, 3 to 4 strikeouts right there. And one of my favorite sayings that I like to present to the show is low strikeout doesn't mean no strikeout, Dean. Like, low strikeout rates doesn't mean they aren't going to strike out today, right? So there's always an opportunity for the lowest of the low. Even Luis Arias strikes out sometimes. Stephen Kwan struck out twice yesterday.
Really? I didn't see that.
Exactly. So once
it never happens.
Right. It's not as highly probable that guys like O'Hearn are going to strike out as much as a Cowser, but it will happen. And so, if he's on today, I'm not trying to sell anyone on Pivetta about it, but I'm just telling you why I'm playing him, and then you can make a decision based on that. So yeah, but that's Pivetta's the 6th one, and I think the 7th one should be. Yeah, I think the 7th one should be pretty easy because I think this guy is also a variance guy, but just kind of in a pretty good matchup for strikeouts.
Just to clean up Pivetta, 29.1% as far as the Ks, too many fly balls, too many home runs. That's the problem with Baltimore because it feels like he can strike out 8 or 9. He also feels like he can give up 3 homers. He's given up 1.75 per 9 on the season. But I think he's in the pool. I agree. If I was running 150, he would be in the pool for me.
Right.
Okay.
And Dean, I think that's the key, right? I'm playing 150 today. So sometimes when I have a show, sometimes I may have 3, no more than 20, right? And if I was only playing 20 lineups, I probably wouldn't get the Pivetta. And I may not have even picked up Snell. I might have had King, Reagans, Zebby, Hunter Brown, or something like that. You get what I'm saying? But when I've got 150 and I've got the opportunity to try to spread it out a little bit more, even though it's still condensed, I want to take those opportunities. So I'll get, a guy or 2 that I otherwise may not have played in smaller field stuff.
So the last one I think is pretty easy. It's got to be Colin Ray because of the matchup in the ballpark.
There you go. Colin Ray, 7,800. I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire. I'm saying pretty good strikeout matchup. We've seen him, Dean, be able to pick up strikeouts in good matchups, right? Like we've seen him push to 5, 6, 7, 8 strikeouts in some of these good ones. And if BABIP is in his favor today at 7,800, I think he's got an opportunity for a nice score. Now at 7,800, a nice score for him. Dean, if he gets me 18, I'll take it. Like, thanks. Fantastic. I'll ride that to the. If you told me right now that Colorado was going to have 18 fantasy points, I think we all plug him into our lineups and be okay with that.
I'd take 18.
Yeah,
I'd take 18.
Yeah. And if I told you he got 20, and I know it's just 2 points, but if I told you 20, you'd absolutely put him in. So I think he's got some upside. Now, the Blitz projection system doesn't agree, and I know the RG projection system doesn't necessarily think he's going to do that. But I just think in this matchup, like you talked about the ballpark, he's not like some elite K guy. I think he's around 21% on the season. Let me verify that.
19.4.
19%, excuse me. 21% to righties, 17% to lefties. But the walk rate's pretty much intact. He is giving up some hard contact. I get it. It's just the matchup. And, maybe I run into some good fortune here, Dean, with him. Like I said, 18 fantasy points, I take it. I'm probably okay with 16, but like at 18, like I feel like that's more reasonable than like him picking up 25. If he gets 25, I'm running to the bank. You know what I mean? So that's my pitcher pool today. And that's where I stand.
Roth did write up this game talking about the winds that are blowing out center at 20 miles per hour in San Fran. But the ballpark, it's built to minimize the impact of that wind. I've seen some studies. This is Roth speaking. I'm just reading Roth. I've seen some studies that show a wind blowing out here actually suppresses home runs, though I'm not 100% on board with that as a fact. And my Weather Edge tool disagrees. Yeah, Weather Edge likes it a little bit today, but it's a different scale. We're talking about that ballpark because expectations are already kind of low. 205 previous games in San Fran with the wind blowing out to basically dead center at 18 miles per hour. 62 is the temp, the dew at 59. They've seen a bump of 12% homers, a bump in runs at 5.6%. So a bump, but nothing massive. Not obviously what you'd see like in Chicago if it was 20 miles blowing out. In Wrigley, it will be off the charts. And the San Fran projected lineup, we don't have it just yet, but the projected lineup decays there 28.1% collectively. Only one player in the green, Patrick Bailey. Everybody else is striking out a ridiculous amount. Fitzgerald at 31%. He's been good this season, but strikes out a lot. McRae, another guy, has been good in a small sample, but almost 40% Ks. Shannon's asking about Brewer stack. We'll have that conversation in a second. We'll talk stacks momentarily, but we should. By the way, if you didn't get on the board as far as the wheel, last chance to get in. We don't want to have producer Steve scrambling. We're going to give away a week free of RG Premium. If you don't win Premium, if you don't get your name in through the Discord channel, well, you can just go ahead and pay for it. You can get 6 months of RG Premium. You want to commit to 6 months, you'll get the entirety of the NFL season, a big chunk of the NHL season, basketball, of course, the end of baseball, PGA and hockey and all the goods. I said PGA hockey. I said hockey twice, didn't I? Well, a little bit redundant. Anyways, $250 off the top. If you commit to 6 months, you get $40 off the first month. You just want 1 month. Links are in the description. You want to taste $19 and change for $3. Kirkwood's a squad ride there today? I didn't know that. Has he unleashed his pick? The squad, I think, is in a bit of a funk.
Jug Nation. Let's go.
So there it is. Well, today's squad ride pick is Kohanovitz under 3.5 strikeouts. I don't like laying that juice. Minus 165, but his K rate, and this is small sample stuff, right? His K rate on the season is 7.4%, that's bad. That's really, really bad. 7.4%. That's probably one of the lowest numbers you'll see in the league. Maybe some of these like third basemen that come in when the score is 17-2 have a lower than 7.4%. But that is horrendous. Don't like laying that juice, but it's probably a dub. Give me the summary. We'll spin the wheel. Summary as far as arms. I know you mentioned your pool. Maybe mention like somebody you're taking the biggest stand on, well over, well under, even though they're in your pool.
Okay, yeah, let's go there. So D, for me to do that, give me a second. Click a few
no
buttons here. What I was doing was as we're on the show. This has been something interesting for me, Dean. Trying to look at things while we're on the show and just make sure I'm running my script pretty clean. So I'm going to my lineups tab on Lineup HQ, and I'm going to player exposures. So let me click pitcher here. And so, Dean, in terms of guys that I'm well over the field on, it's almost everybody, almost. So let me say this. Colin Ray, obviously, I'm over the field. I'm well over the field the most probably with Colin Ray. Just because we don't have him really projected for a whole lot of ownership. I'm well over the field there. I'm under the field on Hunter Brown slightly. But that's because I'm over the field on Snell, over the field on King, over the field on Zebby. In terms of the bigger spins, I'm probably well over the field on Cole Reagans and Nick Pivetta. Like those two, I kind of took some stands on.
Gave a refresh. Want to see if we're seeing anything different ownership-wise when it comes to today's pitchers. Pretty much the same. Yeah, 37% Brown, 29 King, 25 Snell. Zebby is the cheapie at 20%. Heel at 16. Reagan's 14. Pivetta 11. Wu 10. Extremes as far as the pitcher stuff. We have two extreme pitcher umpires. I'm just now seeing this. I missed this earlier. Guess who has an extreme pitcher's umpire and can really use one? Blake Snell. Blake Snell can definitely he can use those corners and then some. So Snell's got it, Brown's got it as well, Colin Ray and Joey Estes.
Well, and let's talk about that briefly, D, from a real life perspective, because sometimes people hear like, oh, pitchers, and kind of what that means. And you mentioned the corners, and I think it's important to note that is like the correlation between it, right? The closer they're going to give that edge, what it does, and look, man, I know it's a numbers game, but it's also psychological for the batter. So a lot of times, Dean, you'll see a batter get frustrated with an umpire, take off his helmet, screaming and arguing. Well, it's because of a call they got where batters make adjustments throughout the game, right? So they come up, their first plate appearance, the umpire gives them the corner, they strike out looking. They say, okay, so I know the next time I come up, that's when I maybe got to swing at, got to foul off, whatever, right? The next at bat, they come up, they swing, maybe it's a ground ball out, whatever. But then, Dean, the next at bat, they come up, and the ump gives them a bad call, like because they're relying on the ump's strike window, right? Like that's what they're relying on, and the ump gives them a bad call where maybe they got a ball on the last one, but this time the ump says strike. And it's usually on a strikeout, right? Strikeout. You know, the ump's being very demonstrative. And all of a sudden you're like, why is the batter so frustrated? It's because they're trying to read the box that the ump has put them in for that particular matchup. And that's where a pitcher's ump comes into play, because essentially getting that corner means that the bat might not be able to read some of these as well as he could if an ump gives them a tighter window where they've got to be a lot closer to the plate. And Dean, that's up top the zone and on the edge of the zone outside and below the zone. You get what I'm saying? So just wanted to put that out there. That's why these pitchers umps, especially for some of these guys like Snell, that's why it helps them so much, because they know they can push the envelope a little bit. And that actually makes the batter guess even more, Dean, because now they may throw like the new thing. They may throw a sweeper and catch them off guard. And it's like, oh, I got to swing at that because I don't know if the ump is going to call a ball or a strike here, and they're swinging at junk. All right, hopefully that helps a little bit, but I will digress, and then we can get into the wheel and talk about some stats.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring producer Steve in. We're going to give the wheel a whirl, and does not appear we're getting to 100 likes, so we are going to spin it just once. Unless did things change drastically in the last few minutes, Steve, or no?
No, we're currently at 73 likes.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
So let's get it started. I'm going to spin the first one. I'll shuffle it up.
Hey.
Blink 182 grew.
Wow. And it goes to the guy that says that it was rigged, didn't it? Is that who it went to?
That's how it works sometimes.
No, I don't think he said. I think it was Coach said it was rigged.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was bootleg head chopper. My bad. That was bootleg head chopper that said it was rigged.
I don't think bootleg head chopper plays. I think he just likes to sit on the sidelines and complain. He doesn't participate in the Discord. And why is it not coming up my name? Well, you got to throw your name in the Discord. You got to hit the button, and in order to chip in a chair. If you have no chip, you got no chair. All right. Today's stacks, the category. We'll talk our stacks in just a second. Will, you did this one in secret, so I don't know what's going on. I'm going. I think I know the category, unless you're going to swerve me. But introduce it to the people.
No. You know what the category is, Dean. So
yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I assume you're not playing any games, but you never know. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I don't play any games with this stuff. So here we go, folks. So today it's football season. We know during football season, even outside of the Super Bowl, everyone likes to get together. They like to have a little gathering at the house, either in the garage, the man cave. Some people have an outdoor thing, some people have an indoor thing, but we like to gather around, watch the game, and eat foods, folks. And so today's category, we're talking about NFL watch party foods, and hopefully everybody can get on board with some of these things. And I think you will. I don't think it's anything that's too far out there. I think some people are going to disagree on what I feel like is awful, Dean, at number 5, obviously. But we will see. We will see. Derek,
can I play? Can I guess? Can I guess what it is?
Sure, you can guess.
I mean, I think the chalk has got to be like pizza. Pizza and wings is like the clear and obvious chalk. And chips. I don't know if we're talking about like accessories.
No. Yeah. I thought about that, Dean. I considered chips to be an accessory. Now here's the thing. Unless it's paired with something else. So I'm not talking about like Doritos or Lay's, or I'm saying a chip is a primary if you've got to dip it into something. All right.
The chat's saying beer. I don't think beer qualifies, but I guess that does happen.
I only did foods. I thought about that, but I only did foods. I didn't do beverages. So it only did foods.
Ribs being thrown out there, I can see that. A little messy, but I can see it. But let's see, ribs. I wonder what the worst is. I wonder what you're just against.
You will see. You because listen, and the reason I brought this up is because this has happened to me before, and I said, "What in the world is happening? This is terrible. This is just terrible. Like what?
I mean, like
so."
What would be the worst? Worry. Celery sticks. I guess that's an accompaniment for like a wing spread, I suppose.
Well, I consider celery sticks to be more of a garnish, or that's a side piece. So don't worry about that. Celery sticks did not make the list for what it's worth.
Brats, like bratwurst. Oh, yeah, dogs. Yeah, I didn't know like bratwurst, hot dogs, burgers. I guess you can kind of go that route as well.
Oh yeah, listen, and remember, everyone, everything couldn't make the list. Everything couldn't make the list. So
people get upset when it's not on there.
Just roll with me here. Everything couldn't make the list.
I feel like I'm just trying to think what the worst is. Like, what's the one thing you don't want to see if you go to a Super Bowl party?
Listen, the reason why this thing is the worst is because it happened to me, D. And I said, I'd never know. This can't.
Did you let them have it? Did you let them know, or did you kind of say it behind their back? Like, I can't believe so.
No, I just didn't eat it. I didn't eat it at all.
Now you got my attention. I'm curious what it is. I guess we
like to start from the worst. That's what we'll do, D. We'll start from the worst today, and okay. I'll explain this. And when that happens, I think it's going to be
shrimp cocktail. Oh, Bulls testicle. Yeah, what is that? What are they? Denver, Colorado. What do they call the bull testicles? What is that called? Like the appetizer?
Thank you, David. I'm going to go create some celery.
It's Rocky Mountain oysters, I think.
There you go, Rocky Mountain oysters. Couldn't quite get there. Spaghetti would be a terrible. Yeah, spaghetti's a great answer. I can't imagine spaghetti. But go ahead.
Hold on 1 second, okay?
Yeah, no worries. Sloppy Joe. Sloppy Joe will be an interesting nomination. I can't imagine that would work, but I just don't want to think it's too messy. Wings are a little bit messy, but they're kind of sort of somewhat worth it. All right. We'll be back here in just a second.
Hey, my son was calling me. My son was calling me, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an emergency, and it was not. I told him I was working, and he said, "Oh, okay, my bad." So yeah, he's good. All right,
awesome. So let's open the board up.
Here we go.
Whoa,
we're starting with the worst, folks. If you bring cut up egg salad sandwiches to a watch party, you need to be fired. Okay, that does not qualify. I don't know who thought egg salad sandwiches. Dean, oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it. I said, no. There's no way someone brought egg salad sandwiches cut up in the little squares too. Like it made it more appetizing. No, it's not appetizing. We don't want egg salad sandwiches at an NFL watch party. What? Okay, so that had to be the worst. I know that's people probably haven't experienced it. That was out of an experience. So egg salad sandwiches, do not bring them, okay? This was going to be controversial, but onion dip. We don't want onion dip at the football party. You can bring that to the holiday party, Dean, but we don't want onion dip with Lay's ruffled chips or ruffled chips or the Lay's wavies. We don't want that at the football party. Leave that somewhere else.
So you like it, you just don't like it in the atmosphere. It's for whatever reason it doesn't work in football?
I don't like it at all, but I think it's acceptable at the holiday party. It's not acceptable at the football party, okay? We want the good stuff, the best party platter food you can bring. Now, right in the middle, here's why I put cheeseburger sliders. I think cheeseburger sliders are incredible, Dean, but the preparation, right? There's so many things you can do. You could put a cheeseburger slider on a Hawaiian bun. You could buy mini buns with no seeds. You can buy the mini buns with sesame seeds. You could put bacon and barbecue sauce. Some people do it with a fried egg. You could do a cheeseburger slider royale. There's so many things that you can do, right? But I think sliders are right there, like right in the middle. Most people can't just mess up a slider, right? Unless they just don't know how to cook food. So let me say that. Then second on the list. Now I said chili con queso, but this could be any dip, guys, that you've got cheese and some sort of protein. What do we want? We want those chips. It could be a buffalo chicken dip, but chili con queso, guys, incredible at your football parties. Some people put a little bit of andouille sausage in the chili con queso, Dean. So I love that. And then at the top, America's favorite, buffalo chicken. I'm saying wingettes to be specific because chicken wings, Dean, can be large, but we're talking about the mini wingettes, nice coated breaded chicken wing with a nice buffalo sauce. I'm not talking about something that's going to absolutely torture tongue, Dean. I'm talking about just a nice, rich buffalo flavor. You can't beat buffalo chicken wingettes. Folks, looks like I muted myself by accident.
Do you have a hot take? You have a hot take?
No. I don't have a hot take. I like both. My wife actually likes drums more than flats. But I'm fine with both. My son actually likes flats. I like both. Are they both chicken, Dean? The answer is yes. I want it. Give me the buffalo chicken wingettes. There we go.
All right. Let's go ahead and knock out tonight's game. 16 games. We're going to throw the stack in one of these categories. And like I see somebody in chat, like, what is going on? If you're new here, welcome. 6 months in. We appreciate that anybody jumps in new, but not trying to confuse anybody. But this is kind of how we make our board and rank our baseball stacks. Crunch time coming in 20-ish minutes or so. We got STL cards as well as chief meteorologist Kevin Roth and Squirrel Patrol. First game on the board. Kind of a pitcher's duel, 8 total in the Bronx. Reagans versus Luis Heel, 2 potential pitchers that could strike out 10. Of course, the Yankees have some boppers as well. Yankees are pretty big favorites here, minus 155. Where do we have the Royals and the Yankees?
Royals, for me, both are an onion dip, Dean. I don't think, because they're not bad offenses but they're facing good pitchers, I still think either of these teams could score some runs. But they're both going in onion dip for me. They're not a priority for me in terms of stacking. I do have Judge as a one-off. Clearly, I'll have Bobby Witt as a one-off. I just don't feel like we need to have those guys, not in our lineups. But in terms of stacks, I don't want to stack either of these teams. Steve just put them in chili con queso. Steve, we're putting them in onion dip at least. That's what I would like to do. And then obviously our fearless host Dean Shavelson will make the tying argument here.
Well, yeah, if it's just if it's just the two of us, I usually yield unless I have a distinct disagreement. But I'm fine with this. I would have considered bumping up New York to cheeseburger sliders, but I'm okay with this. I probably am more likely to play Reagan's than I am to stack the Yankees. So I'm good with that. But you can always stack the Yankees, obviously. Baltimore, Boston, Pavetta, Kramer, 9.5 total, one of the biggest totals on the board. Boston has a 5 total taking on Dean Kramer. They're minus 140. Weather-wise in Boston, I think there's a lot going on, right? We got a slight bump to homers and a slight decrease to runs. So it feels pretty neutral, what I'm seeing. Where do we have the Orioles and Boston?
Yeah, I've got Boston as Buffalo chicken wing. Yes, that's one of my top stacks today against Kramer. A lot of lefties here, a lot of lefty power. And then in terms of Baltimore, I don't plan to stack up Baltimore a ton, but I will be playing the one-offs. And so I like right where they are at cheeseburger sliders. For as much as I like Pavetta, I also understand Pavetta could get his face punched in. So, I like both sides there. And thus, Dean, why I love playing master multi-entry. I can get the best of both worlds from time to time. And in this case, I think Baltimore's great right there. Cheeseburger sliders, third. And then in terms of Boston's a top stack for me tonight. Love them against Kramer.
So Boston all the way up top. Baltimore you got in the middle. Pavetta has been like reverse splitsy this year when it comes to giving up power versus righties, 235 ISO. Not much better versus lefties, but better, 178. Last year he was really good against righties for what it's worth, 129 ISO versus right-handers. But, and it's a tough ballpark to be giving up reverse splits, fly balls with the monster out there in the left field, kind of sneaks up on you pretty quickly, and against this Baltimore lineup as well. So I can see the story where he strikes at 8 or 9. I can see the story where he strikes, gives up 2 or 3 homers. I can see both happening in the same game. Chat is fired up about boneless wings. Are they even real? Is that such a thing, or is that just like that's not possible? You can't have a wing that doesn't have a. People get very upset about that. It's just a nugget, I guess, is the take, I suppose. But there they go. All right, Angels, Twins, Zebby Matthews on the bump is a minus 225 favorite. Zeb Matthews minus 225 favorite. He's taking on Jack Kohanowitz. He have the 7.8% K rate on the season. We mentioned earlier, Will Castro is back for Minnesota. Some potential pinch hit stuff for Minnesota, and Kohanowitz is probably not going to pitch very deep either. And I believe, last I checked, there is 3 available lefties in that Angels bullpen. Little bit concerning for guys like Wallner, Julian, Larnack. I'm not freaking out about it. And Castro being back also makes their roster just a little bit deeper. So I can see the story where 1 or 2 of those guys gets the hook, but we can't just assume that's going to happen. Where do we have the Angels and the Twins?
Twins, I like the Twins at chili con queso. I'm perfectly fine putting them all the way up to Buffalo chicken wingettes. More so today, probably because of the matchup and price. Like Dean, I mean, the Twins are really. This is really a cheap team. I was about to say a cheap team to get to. So I just think from a playing perspective, this is one of the top stacks of the night in terms of combination of able to stack and upside. So I like them. And then the Angels, I'm perfectly fine with them in onion dip. I know Zebby Matthews is young, but the Angels still on a team that I'm like shaking in my boots for. Like, okay, if they score 3 runs tonight, I don't care. No problem. That's not going to beat me. Even if they score 5, Dean, that still might not beat me if they don't get any home runs. Obviously, you've talked about Zebby's home run slight problem there, but he's just coming up. But I still think Zebby has a shot at a nice performance. Like a guy like Zebby, Dean, he gives me 14 fantasy points. I'm perfectly fine. I'm not going to cry about that. And that's, I don't think the Angels are going to beat me tonight. And so I don't see them, I'm perfectly fine with where they are. Not going to put them in egg salad sandwich because I do think they could score some runs. They're not the worst team, but they're also nowhere near a good team.
All right. Angels in onion dip, and the Twins in buffalo chicken wingettes. The Reds taking on the Cardinals. Lance Lynn is back in our lives, taking on Brandon Williamson. Williamson probably not going to go very deep. Lynn probably not going to go terribly deep either. We have not seen him start in a while. Game here in St. Louis. St. Louis is the favorite, minus 150, 8 total. If this game was in Cincy, certainly be more appealing, but this is what it is. Some really rough players in this lineup. Just both these lineups, just some funky names. It seems like. You tell me. I don't really like this game. It's like we were saying, this is an 11-game slate, or it's not 11, but it feels similar to yesterday's, where it's just smaller than it actually is. This game is kind of like a cross off across the board every single way for me, essentially. You could play some of the Cardinals, sure, but Lucan Baker is interesting. He was 2K, now he's 3K. Another potential pinch hit guy when a righty comes in. Matt Carpenter probably lurking in that bench that can relieve him. He might only get 2 real at bats because Williamson probably doesn't come around a third time as far as facing him. But Baker's shown a lot of power in the minors for what it's worth. Where do we have the Cardinals and the Reds?
Yeah, Cardinals for me. It looks like we've got them in chili con queso. So I'm definitely on that also. Like, I like the Reds and the Cardinals tonight, Dean. I think Lance Lynn just coming back could be problematic for himself, right? Like, he could just not have it, if that makes any sense, and could easily give up some runs. And then we've got Brandon Williamson on the other side here, facing a Cardinals lineup that, they're deciding to roll out some righties tonight, obviously. And, this is a guy that I definitely think could give up some runs. I'm not saying either of these teams likes the world on fire in terms of like 10 to 12 runs, Dean. But I think for the prices, especially for the Cardinals, that makes them very intriguing. And I think the matchup with Lynn just coming back, where the Reds have been, playing okay down the stretch, I think this game as a whole is perfectly fine. And I will say this team total on the Reds is like 3.5, closer to 3.5 than 4. I think that's a slight mistake, and I could be wrong, but I think the Reds put up some runs tonight.
Joe in chat is asking about Williamson as far as his inning projection. I can't tell you his inning projection, but I can tell you his medium pitches thrown, 78 is what we have it for. We have win at 87 for what it's worth, so not a full allotment, but close to it. Close to a full allotment there for Lance Lynn. Williamson at 78. I know he's pitched, I think, in the 60s his first 2 starts back. Okay, moving on. So we have St. Louis, and you have them both in chili con queso, is that right? Is that
I think both are fine. Okay. Yeah, because I don't feel like either one of these pitchers are earth-shattering. Like, you know what I'm saying? These pitchers aren't great. If Lynn was, fully healthy, Dean, stretched out, knew he was going to go 100 pitches, still being somewhat death to righties and, mediocre to lefties, I'd be fine with bumping the Reds down. But that's just not who Lance Lynn is anymore, at least not this season. So I think the Reds could score some runs here.
Okay. Oakland, Houston, monster favorite. Hunter Brown taking on Joey Estes, minus 250, almost a 5 total, 8 total for the game. We mentioned it earlier, no Tucker, a bit of a hole in that Houston lineup today. Butler is back for Oakland. He was day-to-day, so he's back starting for the Athletics. Tough matchup here versus Hunter Brown. He's just rock solid. Like, if you look at, I'm not a game log guy, but if you look at that game log for Hunter Brown, basically giving you a quality start every time out, like, I don't know, 14 of the last 16 times, give or take. He's been spectacular. Where do we have Oakland and Houston? This game also went pretty deep last night, so I imagine the bullpen arms are pretty fresh, but just note that they went 12, I think, last night. Mm-hmm. So the bullpen's got worked pretty hard.
Yeah, even though we've got a big bat missing from Houston. Houston's going all the way up top for me on today's slate. So I think they're a top stack against Estes here. And then in terms of Oakland, similar to a lot of these other teams, don't worry, we're going to get to an egg salad sandwich team, and I actually think it's Oakland. And once again, I know they've got power, Dean, but in terms of on this particular slate, that's not a team I'm interested in playing at all. But that's just me. when I look at Plate IQ here and I see everything they have to offer, what I'm asking myself, Dean, is do I feel like they're going to come out here and beat me today? And the answer is no. Like, I just don't see. When you look at Hunter Brown, he's been pretty good all season, Dean, like not in terms of limiting power, and limiting hard contact, really. Like, so if Oakland's going to win, they're going to have to hit the long ball because the strikeouts will be there. And so that's where, for me, Oakland goes in the egg salad sandwich. I know Oakland's been like the trendy DFS team for a good portion of the season. And I think Lawrence Butler could hit a home run and this team could still only score one run. Like that's what I'm asking myself is, do I think they beat me on this slate? The answer is no.
All right, 3 more games. Crunch time coming in about 10 minutes or so. Wu taking on King at just a 7 total. Coin toss here, according to Vegas. Both teams are minus 110. We do have the Seattle lineup out. Robles, J-Rod, Big Dumper, Kyle Rowley, Arozarena, Rowley, Turner, Polanco, Crawford, and Rojas. No San Diego lineup just yet. We did get the Dodgers, so no San Diego, no Milwaukee. We got everything else as far as lineups. We'll talk about them momentarily. I believe you were big on King, especially for the K's here against the Mariners. Tell me, where do you have the Padres and the Mariners?
I'm not playing the Seattle at all. Seattle goes in the egg salad sandwich also. Like, I'm not rostering a single bat, not even Cal Raleigh. In terms of San Diego, I think they're a cheeseburger slider team. And let me tell you why, Dean. Teams that have low strikeouts with power. It's kind of something similar to yesterday, right? Where they were facing, Kirby, right? And Kirby hasn't been as good this season as he has been, like, generally. So I understand that. But he's still, like, what we would consider to be a pretty good real-life pitcher. Well, a pretty good real-life pitcher that aren't going to pile up strikeouts, that's not going to work against San Diego. They're going to make you pay. You're getting – so having Tatis back in this lineup behind a 2% strikeout Arias, a 16% Profar, a 17% Machado, 17% Cronenworth. It's just a tough team, Dean, to have to deal with. And so, Brian Wu is already a guy. He's a 20% K guy on the season, and they've treated him with kid gloves most of the season. If he gets into any type of real trouble, I think they pull him. So I think San Diego, they're in the middle of the pack for me with the cheeseburger sliders.
All right, San Diego in the middle, and Seattle. I'm sorry, did you say Seattle onion dip?
Oh yeah,
or egg salad?
Yeah. No. Egg salad. Egg salad.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not on Seattle either. Milwaukee and San Fran. I think we just did we just get a lineup, or am I imagining that? No, we did not. We did see the Padres optioned Campusano to AAA. That's the news that just came on through for San Diego. So maybe that's one reason why we have not had the San Diego lineup just yet. They're waiting to make that transaction. I can tell you one thing. Campusano is not going to be in the San Diego lineup, so cross him out if you were anticipating him playing baseball tonight. All right, Milwaukee, the Giants, another game that's happening in a ballpark that's not terribly interesting, 7 total. Milwaukee has a 3.2 team total, taking on Blake Snell. I had this conversation last night with Stevie on the morning grind. It's like, certainly Milwaukee is not my first team. If I have one lineup, it's not going to be Milwaukee. If I have two, it's not going to be Milwaukee. But at some point, you just have to make a, what if Blake Snell does the Blake Snell thing that's not good, the bad Blake Snell thing. I think you're supposed to have at least one. And again, the ballpark still's not great, and the bullpen's pretty good. But, if you're ahead, you're not going to get the best pieces of that bullpen. What is happening with Ray Lewis? I'm getting distracted. Did something happen with Ray Lewis? I don't know, but several people are talking about it in chat. Back to baseball. Where do we have the Giants? Snell could be the best pitcher in the slate. Could be the worst. Probably somewhere more so near the top. Against Colin Ray, who I think you liked as well, who's perfectly fine because this Giants lineup is not very good and the ballpark's great. Brewers, Giants.
Brewers for me are an onion dip, Dean, just because of the Blake Snell experience, right? Either they're going to go off or Blake Snell's going to dominate. I think that's there. I don't really feel like there's a true in between. I know they've been good. I also know Blake Snell could turn into Randy Johnson today, and he could be, any bad pitcher tomorrow. So I think he pitches well today at home. So, but the Brewers are going in the onion dip. And in terms of the Giants, they're going in the same place. While I understand that they're not good, there are a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. I'm playing a ton of Colin Ray, but I still understand Colin Ray isn't prime Max Scherzer, if you will. So both of those teams, I think, could score some runs, but I don't feel like they beat me today. And so they're both going into the onion dip category.
All right. The late night hammer that is the Cubs and the Dodgers. Bobby Miller taking on Jordan Wicks. Mentioned it earlier. Miller's giving up a ton of homers. Wiggins, Wicks, not so much. A lot of ground balls as well. 9 total. We do have Teoscar back batting cleanup. Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Teoscar, Edman. Will Smith batting 6th. Have we seen this iteration before? With Smith batting behind Edman? I'm not sure if we have. He banged out a couple homers last night, so he's hot. And then, of course, left on left, Max Muncy batting 7th. Rojas Taylor also cracking it. Taylor, of course, a potential pinch hit risk when Wicks comes out. Where do we have the Dodgers and Cubs?
Dodgers are chili con queso for me. Yeah, Dodgers, chili con queso. Cubs, cheeseburger sliders. I don't trust Bobby Miller bump day as far as I can throw it. I think the Cubs could be, very interesting here today. I'm not stacking them, but I am playing some pieces. Like I'm getting some Cody Bellinger and like some Ian Happ. But I'm not discouraging anyone from stacking them. And then the Dodgers, I just think even though Jordan Wicks hasn't really given up home runs this season, I always bring this up in these situations, man. Cheese. I think he wrote a statement saying that hitting is good too. And even if they don't get the home runs, Dean, I mean, double RBIs, and all these other fantasy points count just as much as the home run. I'm not saying they're worth the same. I'm saying they pile up if guys are constantly, getting good contact and getting hits. And so that's what that's what I think. So we're good to go.
I personally would bump up Chicago. I like the Cubs just as much.
Sure, no problem.
Just as much, but I think Miller still could be a disaster. He has his moments, so I'm definitely happy to pick on him. You're locked in for 9. PCA, by the way, this guy in the outfield every single day, he's making a new highlight play out there. Pete Crow Armstrong, I think he's going to be a thing. I know he's still raw, right? But I think the bat's coming together too. One of these days they're going to bat him ahead, 6th or 7th instead of burying him in the 8 hole every single time. But I think he's a fun piece going forward for the Cubs. All right, here is our board. Buffalo Chicken Wingettes. Got 3 teams: Boston, Minnesota, Houston. Chicken con queso. We have Cincinnati, St. Louis, the Dodgers, the Cubbies. Right smack in the middle. Not a lot of hedging here for Will. Not a lot of hedging. Just 2 teams in the middle. That's Baltimore and San Diego. Onion dip has New York. That's the Yankee variety. Kansas City, the Angels, Milwaukee, San Fran. In the gutter, hanging out with egg salad sandwich, is the Athletics and the Mariners. We have crunch time coming in here in a second, but I believe we hit the 100 likes, which means we should get 125. We get in the K of the day or your favorite prop for the people before we bring crunch time in. I should also check in on our poll: drums versus flats. 56% live. It's changing as we speak. 56% for drums. So it's kind of a coin toss there amongst the two. What do we have, Will? Give the people a winner in the prop streets.
Yeah, I sure hope I'm right. And that's going to be Bobby Miller at 16.5 pitching outs. I want less than that projection today. That's my K of the day. Look, man, I don't trust Bobby Miller. I know he's had 1 or 2 good games. One of those was against, the Mariners or Tampa Bay or something like that. But generally speaking, man, when you look at his numbers on the season, Dean, it has been tough sledding. He's been awful. 21% K rate. But listen to this, Dean. 11% walks. 267 ISO. That's 287 to lefties, 248 to righties. 406 WOBA. But it's 409 to lefties, 404 to righties. Giving up a ton of hard contact, 55% on the season. Fly ball rate at 25%. He hasn't been spectacular. And so I'm hoping that he once again demonstrates how not good he is and doesn't go past 5 innings. I know we're at 16.5, But listen, just pull him after 4 or 5, and I'm good.
All right. Did want to shout out a couple winners, by the way. Yesterday, we had Tournament Tuesday. Sass Malin took it down. I'm not sure if you've gotten in contact with a producer Devin. I believe producer Devin slid in your DMs there on the Discord, trying to hook you up there with RT Premium. And our listener league winner was Steeler Nation 60. I don't know if you contacted Devin. I think Devin was looking for you to try to juice you up. That's for NFL. Speaking of NFL, I'll be back later on tonight with the Pick Six crew. 8:30 Eastern. Myself, Rich Rebar, and John Daigle. Of course, already in the can is Chiefs food for thoughts earlier in the week with Justin the Luch. All right, we've already teased it enough. Without further ado, it is crunch time. We have Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth, SDL Cards, and Squirrel Patrol. Let's bring in crunch time. Kevin Roth, one more day with the positive weather gods. You just keep what is your streak right now? You just keep dodging it. Like it's enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, I think we had a full week with no weather, and then we had one day with a couple weather games, and now it's been another full week with no weather. So that's pretty damn good.
I think you're bored. You're like writing paragraphs about the Giants. You're just like, I got to put something in here.
That does happen. That does happen, dude. You're right.
It's just like, you can't just say nothing. Like, have a good day.
Right. Got to have something. Yeah.
How's everything else otherwise? Everything's good. Good in your world, Rob?
Things are good. I need two things. First, I need to tell you, I don't know whose board that was, but it was freaking majestic. It was a fantastic board.
Well, what do you think it was? What do you think the category was?
I think it was maybe some sort of like tailgating food or food to watch the game, something like that.
Yes, absolutely. You nailed it. Nailed it.
Whose board was it?
Will. It was Will's board.
That was
man, just an excellent board. 10 out of 10 board. 2, Dean, I need a movie. You don't have to tell me now, but I have movie night tonight, solo, just me, and I need something to watch. Doesn't have to be great, just something decent.
What do you want, though? Like, give me like a category and what streaming service you have. Do you want like a suspense movie? You want a thriller? You want like a last-second turn? You want something like a popcorn movie? I got it all for you.
I do not care. I just want anything, Dean. I was scrolling through Netflix, scrolling through Amazon. I had nothing.
All right, I got you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all right. I'll make sure to slide in your DMs. I'll give you several options. I'll give you a slight little description.
Love that.
I'll give you some options.
Love it.
All right, we got anything else, Will? Before we step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time.
No, I'm good, man. The greatest DFS player of all time is hanging out with Crunch Time today. That'd be Squirrel Patrol, and just listen to whatever he said. On top of
Cards is still here too.
Cards is here. Yeah,
you should,
I thought you were talking about me.
Listen. That is not to diminish Cards or Roths like wins in the NBA. That is not to diminish. I've seen Cards take down his fair share, but I think we would all agree that it seems like our good friend Squirrel Patrol is taking down $1 million a week. That's an exaggeration, but clearly,
yeah. But $100,000 a week might not be an exaggeration.
Clearly, he's in the DFS streets.
Yeah.
By the way, Roth, yesterday you said, Roth, you dabble in the MLB DFS streets. Yesterday, I think you called your shot. You said, you know what? I made a lineup. This is going to win. I'm going to tell you guys about it all tomorrow. Now it is tomorrow. Yeah. How did it go?
Everything went fine. Every time I play MLB DFS, I look at my team and I'm like, they did well, and I still lose. And I don't. What does it take to win in these streets, man? Does everybody have to hit a freaking home run?
It doesn't hurt.
Just about.
All of my dudes had like 10 or more points. Everybody had doubles and RBIs and singles, and pitchers did fine. Nothing. I like middle of the pack. I don't know what it takes.
Not even a min cash. Not even a min cash.
I didn't even min cash.
Listen,
I don't know what it takes.
Rod,
you'll get it back tonight.
That's how I felt yesterday. I was up to like, I don't know, like as high as 5th or something like that. And I mean, everybody I had was just crushing the ball. And I ended up finishing like my highest line. I finished, I don't know, 30th, 40th, 50th, something like that. Nowhere near where I want it to be. And that's baseball. You run it back up today and hopefully everything comes together. Yeah.
All right. Run it back.
Roth, did you see Hitman on Netflix?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah. That's with
Great.
with
It
our
was
guy
great.
Glenn
Loved
Powell. Yeah, that's what I was going
Loved
to
it.
recommend. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll recommend something else. Yeah.
Run it
For
back,
everybody
yeah.
else though, if you've not seen Hitman on Netflix, definitely worth checking out. All right, we're done. Crunch time's coming in. You got STL Cards, one of the greatest DFS players of all time, and Squirrel Patrol as also redundant, one of the greatest DFS players of all time, and Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist Kevin Roth, myself, and Will. We do appreciate you watching the first portion. Do hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications, do not go anywhere. Roth, take us home.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz, hanging out with us all the way up until lock. We might take you through lock. We're going to give you some pitchers, some hitters, some home run calls, some stacks, answer your questions, all of those things. And all that we ask is that you hit a thumbs up. Just want to point out, after being clowned on by Roth Cheese and Chief yesterday, Ranger Suarez let up a career-high hit so out of the gate. Okay, so after the first batter, Steve said he's throwing meatballs, and it turns out you were right. Kudos, you were correct. Can we confirm, Squirrel, was he throwing meatballs?
I feel like it wasn't on the main slate, so I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, it wasn't, but we came in late. Let's see, is Steve producing today? I think it's Steve. I'm not sure if it's Steve or Devin.
Yeah,
hi, Steve.
I assumed.
So we were doing the golf show last night, and Steve was really tilting Ranger Suarez during the golf show because he had the over strikeouts. I mean, Steve was in a bad mood last night, so hopefully today's going better for him.
Steve is one of my favorite follows on Twitter because when he rants, he just lets it go. He just absolutely
it's therapeutic.
Buries people. Yeah, it's very, very fun. It's therapeutic for me to just I enjoy just reading it. Hey guys, welcome here. Happy to have you walk us through this. I said earlier, I don't know what it takes to win in these MLB DFS streets, but I know two guys that do. Squirrel Patrol, how are you, man?
Good. Being set up for some strong advice here. It's funny because it's like a slate that I feel like it can go any different way. But being set up as the expert, but I'll do my best. It's gonna go well.
I mean, sometimes the expert analysis is a full-on blender. Play whoever you want, mix it up and get crazy. So we'll talk that out, and then we got my guy STL Cards in the house as well. Cards, how you feeling about the slate?
Yeah, it's I kind of like it for an 8-gamer. That's a nice size, not overwhelming, and some interesting stuff for us to discuss for sure. So yeah, kind of dig it.
Okay, very good. Well, I am digging the fact that, as we mentioned, again, there are no weather concerns whatsoever. So with that out of the way, Cards, why don't you lead us off and talk about either the slate in general or just dive right into the pitchers?
Yeah, I think pitching is interesting tonight because you can kind of go a number of different ways. You can kind of build your lineup and then get the bats you want and kind of come back and see what you have remaining salary-wise for pitchers, because there's so many different ways you can build it. Or you can get the pitchers you want first and then build your bats from there. I don't think there's a right answer one way or the other. So what I have kind of done is figured the offenses that I like the most, making sure I get exposure to them, and then kind of backfilling pitcher from there. And so the reason for that is because I think if you look on the high end, we've got Blake Snell, we've got Michael King. So we've got two guys, and King's facing Seattle. We know they strike out a lot. Snell, is the ultimate kind of hit or miss guy, big upside. You've got Reagans, who's facing the Yankees, so tough matchup there. Hunter Brown against Oakland will probably be the most popular guy if I had to guess, but he'll be up there. So, that's 4 arms at the top, and maybe throw Luis Hill in there as well. That's 5 guys that you can spend up for if you have the salary to do so. If you don't love that, or if you're trying to get, Ohtani and other, high-end bats in your lineups, you can kind of go in the mid-range. I've seen some love for Bobby Miller. I am not on the Bobby Miller bandwagon today. I'll let Squirrel talk about him. But, I mean, he would be an option in the mid-range. Brian Wu is 8,100 on DK. I'm just kind of avoiding that mid-tier. And if you go super cheap, we've got Zebby Matthews for Minnesota, who's basically priced as a punt at 5,800. the BABIP luck has been horrible his last few starts. Had one outlier where he gave up 9 runs in 2 innings. So, the surface metrics are pretty ugly. But outside of that, I mean, he profiles as kind of a mid-level strikeout guy, and he's facing the Angels, and he's 5,800 on DK. So on DraftKings, you could go with 2 spend-up pitchers. You could go with 1 spend-up plus a mid-range guy. You could go with 1 spend-up plus Matthews as a punt, or you could, just go hunting for 2 cheap pitchers and get all the bats you want. And I think any path is certainly viable on a points per dollar basis tonight. Certainly Snell has the highest ceiling of the bunch. King has a high ceiling too, but both of those guys, I mean, walks can get either one of them at times. So most of my lineups are 1 spend up guy, and I'm probably ranking them as King, Brown, Snell in terms of my exposure, though they're somewhat interchangeable, and pairing one of those guys with Matthews at 5,800 in most of my builds on DK tonight. The conversation is a little bit different on FanDuel because obviously you only have the 1 pitcher over there, and the salary differences are all always worth noting. So King is 10K over there, so he's the most expensive of those top end options, whereas Hunter Brown is 9,400 and Snell is 96. So I have a little less exposure to King on FanDuel, but the conversation with Matthews is the same because he's actually the cheapest guy on the FanDuel board at 6,100. So I don't usually play cheap pitchers on FanDuel, but I mean, we've got him projected in terms of, you sort FanDuel by point per dollar, he's at 4.46 points per dollar in our projection. And the next closest guy is at 3.79. So I usually don't go cheap at pitcher on FanDuel, but I think you can do it tonight.
Okay, good stuff. Squirrel, I want to bring you in. If it seems like the chalk might be one of the 3 expensive dudes and Zebby, is Zebby going to be chalky as hell?
Yeah, so actually I kind of addressed that, and it kind of affects the slate. And so what I was kind of referring to, when we opened this part of the show, there's a couple of guys, Zebby Matthews and Bobby Miller, that I kind of feel strongly I want to be over the field on them. Although I do think Zebby might be higher owned than we're displaying.
Yeah.
But I also want to stack against them because they're basically kind of these pitchers that aren't that good, but they're facing offenses that aren't that great either. That's probably more true of Zebby Matthews and Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller just has like strikeout potential, but also he just gave up a ton of runs. So yeah, I like the Angels as a sneaky stack, particularly on DraftKings. They're really affordable, and you're getting some leverage on what could be higher Zebby Matthews ownership. Kind of the same thing. I like the idea of being over the field on Bobby Miller, which won't be hard. He's in 5% ownership here on DraftKings. We have to play 2 pitchers, and we only have 16, I think, to choose from. So I like the idea of being over the field on Bobby Miller as like a cheapish alternative to Zebby Matthews. Like you can play like Bobby Miller, some Dodgers, and the Dodgers are more expensive, but then you can play some like cheap Angels mini stack kind of thing. I agree that there's probably like 3 top pitchers in Brown, King, and Snell, and I like them in that order. I like King, then Brown, then Snell. And I also like I like the idea of being under the field on Blake Snell and over the field on Cole Reagans. Reagans is facing the Yankees. That's like a scary lineup to face, but he's a decent pitcher. And the Yankees have been a little bit cold. I don't know. Does that really affect things? But their implied run total is only like 4.36 as we're seeing there. So yeah, don't mind the idea of being over the field on Cole Reagans is like a spend up to be different.
Okay. Are you worried you're doing something chalky if you're going one of Brown, King, Snell, and Zebby, or is it because there's 3 at the top tier, nothing super chalky?
Yeah, actually, I would say that nothing's that chalky because there's 3 guys to choose from. So then if you're pairing one of them with Zebby Matthews, like Matthews is underpriced. And that's why I like the idea of being over the field on both sides of Zebby Matthews against the Angels, because the Angels are really cheap. Zebby Matthews is really cheap. Like if 1 run is scored or 8 runs are scored, that's probably a good play.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's actually not a night I'd be so worried like, oh, you have to get like super different, because we don't really know what's going to be the highest owned out of like the combination of Brown, King, Snell, and Matthews.
Okay, good stuff. Did get some questions about your takes in FanDuel tournaments. Is it the same list of names for you? And do you have a different preference over there?
It is pretty much the same, except like Zebby Matthews is maybe a little bit less appealing. So I think he's going to see like maybe like 20 to 30% ownership, maybe even more on DraftKings. Probably not like up to 30. But yeah, I think on FanDuel, probably single digits.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's flip it. Let's talk about the bats and the stacks. You already told me you want at least a few Angel stacks in there. What's your favorite stack of the night?
So I think my overall favorite stack is Houston. I think there's a handful of teams that have about a 5 implied run total. Minnesota, Boston, the Dodgers, Houston. Of those 4 teams, I have a strong preference, I think, for Houston and the Dodgers. And then I'd actually like to try to get a little bit different. Like I said, maybe some Angels, some Baltimore. I do like the Cubs against Bobby Miller, even though I've got Bobby Miller tagged. Like if you're playing multi-entry, I think having some Cubs, having some Angels, having some Zebby Matthews, and having some Bobby Miller is a good idea. Maybe over the field on all 4 of those things, which is how I kind of opened the show with, I'm going to tell you to do some strange things today. That's maybe just some multi-entry. I think if you're doing single entry, like I would actually be fine in playing like what could be a chalky Houston or Dodgers, because there's also like potential chalk with Minnesota and then Boston.
Okay, good stuff. Squirrel, I want to bring you in here and talk about your favorite stacks. What are most people doing? And did I say Squirrel?
Yeah, usually
that's a back-to-back
usually
night.
Usually it's when I'm on with Cardi that you screw up the names, but
that's back-to-back nights though, where I've just said the other person's name who was just talking when trying. I'm a little bit worried about my brain.
A little bit of dementia.
Yeah, just a little early onset dementia. Just creep it in a little bit. Maybe it's just the long season getting to me. Okay, cards. What do you think about stacks here?
Yeah, so fun slate. Again, depending on how you approach your pitching, you can do this a number of different ways. I think my favorite is the Dodgers. And I don't think they'll be mega popular tonight because there's going to be enough people wanting to get Snell and King and Brown into their lineups that, I don't know. The presence of Matthews is tricky because, especially if you punt pitcher on FanDuel, are a lot of people going to do that and play the Dodgers? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's still tough to get a full-on Dodgers stack on DraftKings, even with a $5,800 pitcher. I just tried to build one right now with Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani in it, and it's just really tough. So for that reason, I think the full stack will be, it's an 8-game slate. It's not a 12-game slate, so ownership naturally will be just a little bit higher. But I don't think the Dodgers are going to be overly chalky to where you have to worry about it. If you are worried about it or you just don't love the salaries, I like the Houston call that Squirrel mentioned. I think Boston is interesting against Kramer. They've got a pretty high team total, just over 5 runs. I'm not as interested in Minnesota as a stack. I think they'll be a little over-owned tonight. I tend to be a little bearish on Minnesota overall, just in terms of, there's some pinch hit risk with their guys on nights where they're going to have a little bit of ownership. I just prefer to take my chances elsewhere. So Minnesota's probably a little lower down for me than the others. And I really like the Cubs. You look at, it pains me to say it as a Cardinals fan, but this Cubs team, if we just isolate like the last 20 to 30 days, they've been one of the best teams in the league. They're probably still too far back to make a playoff push, but they're not out of it yet. And they're actually going for 3 in a row here tonight against the Dodgers. We know Bobby Miller has had issues with the home run ball. Some of his bad starts have just been really bad. So in terms of my exposure versus the field tonight, the team that I'm most overweight on is the Cubs. It surprises me that their total's kind of as low as it is, but I don't see it with Miller right now. And I like the Cubs tonight.
Okay. Guys, let's go around the horn, talk position by position cards. You get to lead us off with a little catcher talk.
All right. I had FanDuel up on my screen there from talking about pitchers. So let me pivot back over to DK here. And that way I can isolate catcher by itself. But it's not the most glamorous spot tonight. Obviously, I like the Cubs. And the Betancourt is catching tonight for the Cubs. So he would be a punt. or a last piece of a Cub stack kind of thing. I think Will Smith is going to grade out as probably the best spend at the position, but he is hitting a little bit lower in the order. I don't mind Yainer Diaz against Estes. Cal Raleigh against King as a one-off, I think, is interesting for GPPs, but it's your typical kind of catcher night where it's just not that exciting of a spot. You can throw, whoever you've got your stack in there. And actually, if I look at our projections right now, we actually don't have a single catcher projected above 8.25 DK points. The highest guy is Will Smith, and again, by default, he is the guy I like the most. But is it mandatory to spend 4.6K or 4.8K for him on DraftKings tonight? I don't think so. If I'm building a cash game lineup, maybe I just throw somebody like Connor Wong in there at 3,900. He's got a reasonably high floor, relatively speaking. So, Connor Wong would probably be my cash game play. GPPs, whoever fits your stack, Will Smith, if you can get there.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts there at catcher?
Yeah, I'll just add a name, Yainer Diaz. I believe he's moving up in the order because Kyle Tucker is not playing. So I really like the Houston stack, like the Dodgers stack. So yeah, Will Smith, Yainer Diaz. If you're looking to save money, maybe Matt Tice with the Angels. That's about it. It's maybe not a great value position tonight. Cal Riley. I've had a whole thing for most of the season about how you should play Cal Riley on the road. He's his stats are incredible on the road because they play in a pretty good pitching park. But now he's starting to hit home runs at home too. So don't mind the idea of playing Cal Riley, and I feel like you're getting a little bit of leverage. It is not hard at all to imagine him hitting a home run off of King, and King should be pretty popular.
How many bombs does that guy have? Because I feel like he just hits bombs.
30 the other night. He hit his 30th the other night. I don't know if he's hit one since then, but he hit his 30th against the Cardinals. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's
that's
still at 30.
It's a good amount of homers. Okay, take me to first base, Squirrel.
Sure. So I think Shohei Ohtani is the lead here, but he is facing a lefty, and he's got pretty big splits. So I'm not playing a ton of Ohtani, but he's projecting out. I think is one of the best, highest projected plays. I maybe would actually prefer to go to Paul Goldschmidt facing a lefty. So something for cards to talk about. Don't mind some Freddie Freeman, although he is also a little bit expensive, but you're still getting a pretty good amount of savings off of Ohtani. Ryan O'Hearn facing Nick Pivetta. And then if you are looking for some savings, cheaper first baseman, John Singleton facing Joey Estes in the Houston stack, and maybe Luke and Baker.
Okay, I like it. Cards, your thoughts? Sorry, I almost called you Squirrel again, and I really had to pause myself. Okay, I'm locked in. I'm good.
All good. Most of the same plays. In terms of cheap guys, I do like Baker as well. He's hitting second for the Cardinals tonight. They're basically in the play all the young guys movement at this point. So Baker isn't exactly a young prospect. He's been in the minors for a while, but he's got some pop, particularly against lefties, and he's 3K on DraftKings. Still in the twos, I believe, on FanDuel. So he's my favorite cheap guy. The Reds on the other side. So Lance Lynn is making his first start back from the injured list. Not sure how long he's going to go, but the Reds have Ty France in there against a righty. So probably not the usual pinch hit risk for him since they're starting him against a righty. So he'd be another value guy you could throw in there. Again, I'm underweight on the Twins, but I think Carlos Santana will end up being somewhat popular. So lots of good value names to go with here. If I'm playing Ohtani on DraftKings, I'm probably just throwing him in the outfield. Freeman I don't think is mandatory left on left, but I do have him in a lot of Dodgers stacks. And then right now we have Goldschmidt as the highest projected owned at the position. And while he has been better of late, I think if I'm going for first baseman for the Cardinals tonight, I'll save the 1,000 and go down to Baker at less ownership.
Okay, Cards, how about second base?
All right, so I'm getting the pattern of terrible positions here to start off with because catcher's not good tonight, and second is probably worse. It's basically everyone's playing Edouard Julien and punting. He's 2,900. He's leading off. The Twins have the high team total. I've got him in like one lineup and he's probably the guy I'd throw in here at cash games because, it's not a position where I feel like I need to pay a premium. If you're stacking Houston, absolutely play Jose Altuve. But there's no other high-end guy that I feel like I need to pay for here. You've got Gleyber Torres against Reagans. I don't want to prioritize. Chris Taylor is cheap, but pinch hit risk there, and he's hitting ninth. I know Squirrel talked about the cheap Angels guys. I can get behind a little Brandon Drury at 2,500 hitting cleanup, largely because second base is just a wasteland here. So Julien, Drury, maybe some Brendan Donovan as well. This is a position where I just go cheap tonight and save your money and spend it elsewhere.
Squirrel, you saving here at second as well?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Although I do like Jose. Like Altuve's the expensive guy. That's the only guy I would spend up for, but he's in my favorite stack. I agree that Julian is cheap. The value play. And I like Brandon Drury. I'm just gonna try to think of another different name. Maybe Zach Geloff is facing Hunter Brown. You'll get some leverage, and Geloff has some power, and that could be a play that kind of pays off. Kind of same thought process with Jorge Polanco, capable of a home run in a position where there might not be a bunch of differentiation. It's like if you're able to play a guy who's against a popular pitcher and he's got some power and he hits a home run, that's like 14 DraftKings points that you're maybe getting that the field doesn't get.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. How about third base?
Third base. Let's see. I think Rafael Devers. I'm not going crazy for Boston Sox tonight. Just relative to the other teams with high implied run totals, but Devers is always a good play. Same thing with Royce Lewis. These are the guys that they're the best hitters from the teams I'm maybe going to be under the field on, trying to go over the field on other teams. Matt Chapman is in a good spot. Same thing for Alex Bregman, Max Muncy. Those are all the expensive guys. Cheap guys. Not a lot. It's probably Chris Taylor. He's hitting ninth though, and could get pinch hit for maybe Espinal with the Reds.
Okay, Squirrel, your thoughts at third?
You just did it again. What are you doing?
What is happening to me, guys? I just need a day off. Someone get TJ. Someone just get TJ on the horn right now. Cards. What are your thoughts now? It's in my head. I'm never going to make it over now.
It's only Wednesday.
Throwing meatballs.
Somebody, I'm messaging TJ right now. I'm not showing up to work tomorrow. Cards. What are we doing at third base? Cards.
All right, got it. So Royce Lewis is probably the chalk here. This is the spot where me being underweight on the Twins is just, if he's going to be anywhere near 25% owned, there's enough guys at the position. Muncy won't be super popular tonight because it's left on left. I like him. If he's starting against a lefty, he's probably going to be in there. Paredes, I mentioned I like the Cubs. So those guys are in the 4Ks on DraftKings. Squirrel mentioned Bregman as well. Those are probably my three, along with Devers. If you're going all the way up, I prefer Devers over Lewis tonight. I agree there's not a lot here if you're looking to punt, and I'm probably not doing that tonight unless it's Taylor in a Dodgers stack or something.
Okay, Cards, your thoughts at short, and I know you're actually going to like this position. You can't say you got the short end of the stick here.
I see what you did there. So shortstop, as usual, is loaded with high-end guys. But the conversation, a few weeks ago was you always play one of these high-end guys at short. It's Gunnar, it's Witt, it's Ellie, and those guys are certainly fine. I mean, Lance Lynn is horrible at holding on runners. The Cardinals catchers are horrible at throwing out base runners. It's a bad combination. De La Cruz got on base in the first inning last night. He stole second. He stole third. He tried to steal again later in the game. They actually threw him out once. Saw a pig flying out the window when that happened. But in terms of the upside with the power and the speed, if you're going on the high end tonight, I think Ellie's the guy. Pavetta allows some power, so I'd probably put Gunnar next. And, rare is the night where Bobby Witt comes in third in the discussion of the high-end guys, but that's kind of where he lands tonight against a high walk, high strikeout pitcher. I just don't feel the need to prioritize Witt. So it's Ellie and Gunnar if you're spending. But the conversation is a little bit different because we've actually got some cheaper guys now. Ever since the Cubs kind of moved Dansby Swanson up in the lineup a little more often, he's been hitting a lot better. He's still 3,800. Tommy Edman has always hit lefties well. He hit 2 homers last night. He's 3,700 on DK. He might be the most popular hitter on the slate because you can also put him in the outfield. So that's probably where I'm putting him. Put Edman in the outfield. And then that way you could also play Swanson at short, or you could play one of the spend-up guys. So Swanson and Ellie are probably my 2 favorites.
Okay, Squirrel, what are you doing at short?
Yeah, I was actually going to say I like Ellie De La Cruz as a one-off if you have the money. I do like Tommy Edman as a value play. He's too cheap at 3,700. Just one more name. I'll actually a couple more names I'll throw out. Zach Neto with that Angels, the kind of contrarian play against Zebby Matthews play. And I do like Jeremy Pena is like a little bit too cheap as well at 4,000.
Okay. How about the outfield?
So outfield, I think Yordan Alvarez is the best play on the slate. I was going to say like Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. Tucker's not in the lineup. But I'd rather play Yordan Alvarez than Shohei Ohtani tonight, and Alvarez is $1,100 cheaper. Matt Wallner just absolutely murdered a baseball last night. So as long as he's not brought up on charges for baseball, he's way too cheap at 4,000. He's got a good matchup against right-hander that doesn't strike anybody out. Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez. Teoscar Hernandez is back in the lineup. Don't mind Ian Happ leading off against Bobby Miller, and then Mickey Moniak, really cheap at 3,200. He's the best value play I think in the outfield.
Okay, Cards, you get to close us out with your thoughts on the outfield.
Yeah, I like the call on Moniak as well. Given that Matthews is going to be popular and he's only 3,200, doesn't get a lot of attention because it's the Angels and their offense often leaves a lot to be desired. But I like that call with him as kind of a value guy tonight. And if you're hunting in that value range, Yastrzemski hitting second for the Giants is 3,100 on DK. If you're not playing Hunter Brown, Seth Brown is hitting cleanup for the A's, and he's 3K as well. Moniak, who we just mentioned, is 3,200. Mentioned just earlier that you can play Edman in the outfield instead of playing him at short. Let's see. I think that's about it for value, like complete punts. I just wanted to pass those names across while we were looking at value guys there. Agree on the thoughts on Alvarez. Independently, he would be my play. I have more stacks of the Dodgers than I do Houston, so I have more exposure to Mookie and Ohtani, but independent of the stack discussion, I think if I was building a cash game lineup or a single entry lineup without like a full stack, and I was just trying to predict the one high-end outfielder that I like the best, independent of stacks, it's Alvarez. So I agree with that call. Again, I'm high on the Cubs, so Squirrel mentioned Happ, but I have a fair amount of Bellinger and Suzuki as well. Right now, we only have Bellinger at like 8% ownership, so against a pitcher that can allow some home runs, I don't mind that. TJ Friedel, maybe another name to throw into that mid-range discussion, along with the guys like Matt Wallner, Yoshida, Taylor Ward. Those are some names kind of in the 4Ks that I have as well.
Okay. Cards, Squirrel. The people want some bomb calls. They want some home runs. We've already kind of teased a few, but let's give some official picks. I'll let you think on those while I pay the bills. Make sure you're signing up for RotoGrinders Premium. If you're watching this and you're like, wow, this is so much good free content. Imagine the stuff that we have that you can pay for. It's the best content in the biz. And with NFL here, now's the time to sign up. Non-premium users can get $100 off their NFL Premium subscription. All you have to do is click through the banner on RotoGrinders. You get a 6-month combo sub, exclusive price $469.99. Saves you $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months. 1 month of RG Combo Premium is $120. And if you just want to test run, dip your toes in the water, 3-day pass is $19.99. Make sure you are checking out some of those premium deals that we've got going on right now. Cards, why don't you lead us off with a few of your favorite home run calls? Maybe one towards the top, maybe something a little sneakier as well.
Yeah, so I mentioned I like the Cubs. I got to take somebody from that. So I will take Cody Bellinger. I will take Cedric Mullins. And if you want to go totally value hunting for home runs tonight, I'll go with the Cardinal. I'll throw Luke and Baker out there as well.
Nice. Very good. Squirrel, you got a few names for me?
Yeah, so like your Alvarez is going to hit a home run. That's the top call, the obvious play. But he's going to be joined by Alex Bregman in the Houston lineup with a home run, and then Mickey Moniak as well.
Okay, good stuff, guys. We're going to answer some questions. We have 11 minutes. Let's get ready to rumble. Is he still alive? Is he still doing this? Do we know?
I don't know. What's his name?
Bruce Buffer? Bruce Buffer? And then is that right?
I don't know. You can
and then his brother did the UFC one.
I think Bruce Buffer is the UFC announcer, and that's his
Warren?
brother for the WWE.
Probably not Warren, because I'm thinking Warren Buffett, maybe.
I think it might
be Michael Buffer.
Oh, maybe it is Mike.
I think it's Michael Buffer. Yeah, it is.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Roth can just call him Squirrel.
Yeah, that's good. That's good right there. Yeah, Michael Buffer. That's it. And then I think his brother was doing UFC for a while.
So if you had to guess, he is still alive. How old do you think he is? Because I just looked it up.
I think he's got to be 87.
Squirrel, you got over or under 87 and a half?
I'll do under.
Yeah, that was the sharp money. That was about minus 1,000. That was was too high of a guess, Rob.
Really? I thought he was old when he was doing it like 20 years ago.
I mean, relatively speaking, old, but he is 79.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I went high. All right. All right. Let's see what we got here in the old Discord. Here we go. DK Cash cards. I'm coming to you. Bets or Alvarez in DK Cash.
Yeah, it's Alvarez and Cash, and we both agree on that.
Okay. FanDuel Cash, Squirrel, Belly, or Goldie?
Goldsmith.
Jay Brunton says, is at Kevin Roth under the weather? I think maybe the lack of weather is getting me rusty just all around. I'm not locked in. I'm not mentally focused like I normally am. DK Cash, right back to you, Squirrel. Edmund or Swanson?
I'd go Edmund.
Okay. Rocky Raccoon says, cards. I'm getting to a lot of St. Louis tonight, but they always burn me. How do you cope?
You and me both, my friend.
Yeah.
So I feel liberated because I'm at the point of the season with my fandom that it doesn't matter, right? They're not going to make the playoffs. It's whether or not they're going to finish 500 at this point. So
right.
I haven't been intently following every game, which gives me more free time in the evenings. But they lost 3-0 last night. They had the bases loaded with nobody out in the bottom of the ninth, trailing 3-0 and 3 straight strikeouts. So yeah, that's pretty much the state of the Cardinals right now. The offense is just super inconsistent. With the young guys in there, you just don't know what you're going to get on a night-to-night basis. They do project well tonight, and Williamson, he has barely pitched. The current iteration of the lineup at least should be better against lefties than they have been this year. I'm not on them tonight just because it's been so long since we've seen individually. I'm on a few pieces, but yeah, they would maybe be like 7 or 8 if I had to rank all the teams tonight in terms of stacks.
Okay. Let's see, cards. Another stack question for you here. Eric says, what are your thoughts on a Seattle stack?
I get the logic behind it because King can walk a lot of guys, so it'd kind of be the same logic behind stacking the Brewers against Blake Snell or stacking anybody against Robbie Ray and stuff like that. So yeah, it's their team total is only 3.5, but it's a super high varying outcome because nobody's going to do it, and in all likelihood that lineup is dead. But if Seattle scores 12 runs, that could absolutely break the slate. So depends on your risk tolerance. Would I do it as a single entry? Probably not. But if I was doing 10 plus lineups, I could see throwing one Seattle in there.
Nice. Okay. Let's kick it to Squirrel Jar Dog. Says Devers or Machado most likely to homer. So not just, not DFS.
I'll go Devers.
Okay. Let's see what else you've got. Squirrel coming back to you as soon as I find a question. Boy, just a lot of people with some comments. Or do we have questions? If you've got questions, get them in. We've got about 6-7 minutes until we hit the lock. Here we go. FanDuel single entry. Squirrel. Stack in Houston. Do you prefer Singleton and Betts or Diaz and Tatis or Teoscar?
think Singleton and Betts. I like the Dodgers and Astros.
Okay, great. Let's see, Cards, coming back to you here. Blink 182 says, is 2 Brewers and an Angel enough to make a chalky twin stack and 2 chalky pitchers different enough to take down a DK large field tournament, the glorious weather edge like San Francisco, for a little boost in home runs tonight?
Yeah, but I mean, keep in mind, a boost to home runs in San Francisco is almost minimal because that park is so pitcher friendly anyway. I'm not arguing if it shows a 10% boost or whatever, but a 10% boost of a low number isn't exactly. I mean, it doesn't make it Wrigley with the wind blowing out. So the technical answer to the question is yes. I think it makes your lineup different enough. The problem I see is that in order for that to work, where you're playing the chalky stack and the chalky pitchers, let's say that goes off. So there's going to be a lot of people with the chalky stack and the chalky pitchers, and it's going to come down to the one-offs. So do you think your 3 one-offs from the Brewers and the Angels are enough? They can all get the job done. I personally probably wouldn't play the Brewers that way tonight. Maybe I just play one Brewer guy and hope, that Contreras hits a homer or whatever, whoever it happens to be. Or maybe you just try to get another mini stack in there. Like, I'd probably just convert that to a full Angels mini stack at that point.
Okay. I should note, I kind of typed this up a little bit in my chat. I saw a study about the San Francisco ballpark that was like a wind field study. And as of, I think it was this year, it showed that winds blowing out actually go up, around, and sink down pretty violently and suppress home runs.
That park is a crater. I mean, I can't imagine a high-end free agent hitter wanting to say, I want to go play in San Francisco, because 25 homers there is like 40 at Yankee Stadium or whatever. Right. So, I mean, it's a consideration for these teams if they're trying to, get big money. Yeah, you got pitcher Blake Snell. Yeah, I'll happily go pitch there, but it's tough for a guy to, have big offensive numbers in that place.
Yep. And for what it's worth, he was right that Weather Edge did show a boost historically in similar weather games. And my thought is that maybe because Weather Edge goes back to, I want to say 2000, maybe there was some difference made recently that has created that downward trajectory of the wind. I don't know. But wind fields are always changing. Even a nearby building can change the way the winds flow through things. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting, and how those two pieces of data kind of contradict each other. Let's see what else we've got. Got a few more questions in the Discord, and we've got 3 or 4 minutes until lock. Let's see, Cards. You've got one more for you. Since I'm stacking chalky Houston, should I mini stack Oakland? FanDuel single entry.
I mean, it doesn't have to be Oakland, right? It's you can stack Oakland. I think they've got the lowest team total on the slate, though. Hunter Brown doesn't walk quite as many guys as the other top end pitchers, so Oakland would not be my choice. I prefer the Cubs. I think the Cubs work well with Houston, and there's pieces of the Cubs that aren't super expensive.
Okay. Got more questions coming in. Squirrel Andrew says, do you have interest in Pavetta in a GPP? Also, who projects better, Vasquez or Bethancourt?
So not really interested in Pavetta. There's so many other options. He's just not somebody I'm getting to at facing Baltimore. I think, sorry, it was Bethancourt and who else?
Vasquez.
Believe I had Bethancourt projected better.
Okay. And then, Squirrel, I've got one more for you. Your favorite FanDuel GPP pitcher. I need one dude at any price and one who's a punt.
So I think the guy at any price, probably Mike King. And then if the punt, like by far, if you're looking to save money, the best play is Zebby Matthews.
Yeah. Okay. Cards. We Major has a question for you. One pitcher and a stack to take down a large field tournament. So he's basically just saying, build my lineup, give me the pitcher, give me the stack. He'll pick a couple one-offs. Who's taking it down?
Yeah, so I'm gonna plant my flag on the Cubs with Michael King.
Okay, I like it.
And I got distracted, but somebody said Barry Bonds had no problem in that stadium, which is a fair point. But I mean, come on.
That doesn't count. But it really does make him all the more outrageous and amazing, right? 31-year-old Dean says 31-year-old Matt Chapman just signed 6 years, 150 mil to play in San Francisco, and it's probably not going to end well.
Yeah, I mean Bonds is an anomaly, right? And you can I'll keep the steroid argument out of it, but
Right. Either way, yeah, with or without, he's certainly an anomaly. Cards got another question for you here. Thoughts on Ray, REA?
yeah. So I'm not a big fan. I've probably been stacking against him a little bit too much this year. He doesn't get blown up a ton, but I think he's barely made it to like 3-4 innings. A couple of his last 3 starts. The park is good, obviously, in San Francisco, but I just don't think there's enough ceiling there. Like, if it fits your salary, great and fine, and you could throw him in as an SP2 on DraftKings, but not a guy I'd actively be looking to get.
Okay, and then Cards, this question was specifically for you from Chinatown. DK Cash, do you like Arenado at 3.8, or just who do you like at third in cash?
I mean, Arenado at 3.8 is fine. The salary is, that's a reasonable salary. Let me see who else is kind of in that price range there. Let me isolate third base. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys in like the lower 4s, but I'm going to presume he probably can't get up there, which is why he's asking. And then there's like nobody right below Arenado, so it kind of becomes a salary dead zone. So yeah, he's fine if it works.
Okay, let's take a couple more of these questions in Discord, and then we'll bounce because we have hit lock. Squirrel, what's up? Do you got something?
I was just saying we hit lock.
Okay, yeah. FanDuel single entry Squirrel. Devers in the util is a one-off. Okay, I've got Lewis at third in a mini stack.
Yeah, definitely. Those are the 2 teams that I don't love, but that's probably not going to be a very highly owned combination either. So I think that's good.
Okay, great. Right back to you here, Squirrel. FanDuel single entry. Heel with Cubs or Hunter with KC?
I'd probably go Hunter or Brown with KC.
Okay. Cards, got a couple more for you, and then we can bounce. Brown in a FanDuel GPP, question mark, and your favorite spend up.
I mean, Brown is fine. He'll be somewhat popular. So I would just make sure that you're differentiating your bats somewhat. So for that reason, like my favorite spend up, like in a vacuum would be Alvarez, but maybe actively look to like differentiate. Like somebody like Gunnar isn't going to be super popular, relatively speaking, tonight. So him as like a one-off kind of spend, even if you're not stacking the Orioles, I think makes sense. But and Ellie there as well, who I mentioned with the power and speed and the Cardinals' inability to hold runners. So yeah, officially I'll go with Ellie as my favorite spend up in a GPP, and Hunter Brown is fine.
Okay. Our boy Poe DeGen says, hey, great show, good information and content. Smash that like button, you filthy animals. That's a good point. Hit the like button. It is free content. Make sure you hit us with the thumbs up. We had one more question in the Discord I want to get to. Cards, it's for you, and then we'll get out. DePrince says, Bush or Goldie on FanDuel? Who do you prefer?
I mean, just for safety and like cash games, it's Goldie, but in GPPs, I'm on the Cubs tonight, so I'll take Michael Bush.
Okay, one more question because someone asked really nicely and said please, and I'm a sucker for people that say please. Squirrel in the YouTube, Don Play Back on Bullish says, I need 4 Cubs bats. Please help if you can for single entry.
4 Cubs bats, single entry. Looking at my Cubs. I think Ian Happ is the best. Then I'd probably go Suzuki, Bellinger, and then Pete Crow Armstrong seems to be going berserk every night.
My boy PCA. Love it. Okay. And with that, we're going to get on out of here. So 4 Squirrel, 4 Cards for our wonderful production crew. Always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. I may or may not be there. You have been